right now on Bears Unleashed, brought to you by IGS Energy. The Bears are 2-0 for the first time since 2013.
Touchdown! Touchdown, Bears!
2-0 is delicious. I'll eat that every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Bears legend and Hall of Fame running back Gale passed away at the age of 77. We'll talk about his incredible accomplishments in life on and off the field. The Bears are on the road this week to face the high-powered offense that is the Atlanta Falcons. We'll have a preview of this week's game. Plus, what's the one word you need to know before kickoff on Sunday? Keep it right here to find out on Bears Unleashed. And welcome to Bears Unleashed, brought to you by IGS Energy. I'm Caitlin Sharkey. So happy to have you with us. Joining me this week and every week is the fabulous Brittany Payton and Anthony Herron. Anthony, happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much, Caitlin. I appreciate that. I had an ice cream cleanse going for a few weeks. At least I termed it as an ice cream cleanse. I took about a month off because normally ice cream is my lone vice. I did have some ice cream last night in honor of my birthday, though, so thank you.
Oh, awesome. Good. What flavor? What are you going with when
you're
picking your ice cream?
Because the cake had chocolate frosting, and, how much better can you get than finishing off a chocolate-flavored cake with some vanilla ice cream? So It's a good combination. I keep it simple.
Happy birthday, friend. Awesome.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Well, let's start with the Bears recap, as we always do. The Bears survived a scoreless second half last Sunday against the Giants in their home opener at Soldier Field and are now 2-0. What did the Bears do right last week to squeak out that win? It seems like they either have a fast start, a slow finish, or a slow start and a fast finish. Anthony, I'll start with you.
You know what? I think when you look back at how things progressed last week, it just seems like that inconsistency is still there. I will say this, though, because we focus on Mr. Trubisky so much, the game itself, especially in the second half, after a hot start in half number one, the second half offensive doldrums weren't necessarily on Mitch. Even the two interceptions, you can look at what the receivers were doing, what was happening with route combinations, and say, you know what, second interception, yes, he underthrew it a little bit. But overall, I thought Mitch still played pretty well, pretty steady in half number two. You just look at a long missed field goal, those two takeaways. It led to not having as explosive a second half on offense. So there's still things, I think, that can be looked at as a positive, even though we weren't getting the points on the board.
Yeah, I like that. Look at it as a positive, but like you said, that second half, there were too many incompletions. It was just sloppy football. Like you said, the receivers weren't making catches that they should have. Those, I wouldn't look to say blame on Mitch, but they got to get that momentum going. Momentum was my word at the end of last week's show, and it was great because they came out in that first half and they had that momentum going. They had the rhythm. They were scoring multiple touchdowns in that first half, and then where did it go? So getting consistency for sure.
All right, well, this week the Bears will be playing the Falcons, who, while 0-2 so far, have averaged 32 points per game. They're a very good 0-2 team. Here are some numbers. The Falcons are 5th in the league in scoring to the Bears' 21st rank, but the Bears are 3rd in the league in points allowed, and the Falcons are last. So this is the big week for both teams. What kind of game do you expect to see on Sunday?
Well, I think we're going to end up seeing a game where it's two teams who probably have different levels of desperation. Atlanta had high expectations, high hopes coming in, some of the acquisitions they made over the offseason. So at 0-2, they don't want to go 0-3. I think there's going to be a level of desperation we see from the Falcons. And the Bears, in a way, could almost you could have that intangible thing that allows them to be a little more comfortable than they should in a game like this. They haven't played at their best through 2 games, but they're still 2-0. So you would hope that approach, that momentum that Brittany's talking about, will be something that allows the Bears to sort of forge ahead. But I am a little concerned because I think the intangible of this game favors Atlanta.
Concerned, yes, that's the perfect word, Anthony. I mean, the Falcons, they are the best 0-2 team that I have seen. I mean, they can put up points fast. They have an explosive offense. So key is going to be on defense, slowing them down, making sure that they're keeping them off the field. Because the last thing I think we want to do as the Bears is get into a shootout with the Falcons right now. But I think a key in this game, too, is going to be injuries. Thankfully, the Bears have been healthy these past 2 weeks. But the Falcons are on the other side of the game. They have a ton of injuries. I think 9 players didn't practice as of yesterday. So seeing what happens there, who plays, who's in, who's out, especially Julio Jones, that's going to be a huge factor in this game. So injuries are going to be key. So as we see going into Sunday, I think that's going to play a big factor.
Yeah, and some positive news because, like you said, the Bears have remained relatively healthy given the injuries spread across the league that we've seen in the first couple of weeks. Well, this is the last home game the Falcons will play without fans in the stands. Still no fans allowed in Soldier Field. Do you think it's time to allow at least 20% in a stadium like we saw in Kansas City, or should they play to empty seats?
Fans.
Yeah.
Pro fans.
You know what? I don't know. I will say though, maybe not, because without fans, you know, we're 2-0. But I do think, you know, it's great. I think for Bears fans to have that energy, especially for plays like defense, when you're looking at that last drive of the game on Sunday, having defense in there to give you that energy, to be in there cheering you on, to make that noise is a big thing. And I think 20%, as long as it's done correctly, people are social distance, people are wearing their masks. I think it could work. I mean, what we've seen so far the past 2 weeks, I think it can possibly work.
Well, that's the thing. And this city, just like some of the other major cities in the country here, have taken the coronavirus extremely seriously and put a lot of measures in place. The thing you deal with is that you do have folks who travel in from other areas to come and see the Bears. But as long as there's a plan, if there's protocols in place, I certainly hope that what the team has presented to the mayor's office will allow them at some point before the end of the year to get at least a few fans at Soldier Field.
All right, well, now it's time for the clean energy player to watch. Who's the one Bears player you think will have an impact on Sunday's game? Brittany, I'm starting with you.
I'm going with David Montgomery. So when looking at the past 2 weeks, at least on offense, the running game has been consistent. It's been strong, and I think it's going to be a huge key to controlling some of the clock, the time in this game. And it's going to take a little bit of that pressure off Mitch Trubisky. So I think David Montgomery should have a big game. He's averaging right now, he's got, 146, almost 156 yards the past 2 games. I think he needs to get the ball more. So we can get him at least 20 touches in this game. I think we're going to be in good shape, and it's going to be needed to keep that momentum going throughout the game. First half, second half,
much needed.
That'll end up supporting the point that Brittany was making, too, just about trying to control the ball a little bit. You play the game at the Bears tempo versus the Falcons tempo. For me, I'm going to the defensive side of the football, ladies. I'm looking at Robert Quinn. I think that very first play that he had on the field last week, getting a sack, I think that set the tone for what folks should expect for a player who, frankly, isn't in shape yet. He barely practiced during the preseason phase of things, and he's already out there lighting it up. But he did seem to tail off as that game against the Giants went on. But if he's playing great, then you're going to get Mack. You're going to get Hicks. You're going to get everyone around him playing at a high level, too. So I got my eyes on Robert Quinn.
I'm going to stay with the defense as well because I think this will be a big game for the defense. I'm going to go with Jalen Johnson just to see how he handles whether or not Julio Jones gets on the field. Obviously, it's a big game changer for the Falcons. But Calvin Ridley, also not a bad weapon for the Falcons. So the secondary as a whole you could look at. It's a big test for them this week, probably the biggest test they've faced so far. So we'll see how Jalen Johnson can hang. Good stuff. All right, well, we're just getting started here on Bears Unleashed. When we come back, we'll talk about the legacy of Gale Sayers after the Bears Hall of Famer passed away this week. That and more after this. Bears legendary running back Gale Sayers died on Wednesday at the age of 77. Messages and condolences came in from all over the sports world. He was the youngest player to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame at just 34 and will be remembered forever for his work on the football field, but of course, all of the life that he lived away from football. Brittany, I'll start with you. What's a memory you have of Gale?
You know, just getting to interact with him, spend some time with him. Obviously, him being kind of in this club with my father as two of these great running backs with this organization. And the Bears really are a family. So, you know, I looked forward to every year at the Super Bowl, getting to see him, his wife, getting to talk to him over the years. And he was always so kind, so gracious, and welcoming to me, my brother, my mom, and just kind of sharing in some of those stories. So that's something that definitely will be missed, but I mean, he was absolutely amazing. What he did on the field really paved the way for guys like my dad to come around. So he's one of those that just, you know, the heavy hearts with the Bears family, the NFL family. He's one of the greats, and he will be missed, that's for sure.
And you both know what it's like where you're accustomed to being around pro athletes. Even for myself, when I was a pro athlete, there were certain individuals that you still had, you know, a little bit of a starstruck, some awe when you would be around them. And the first time I met Gale was actually after I'd already retired, and he would do an event around the Kentucky Derby every year, and myself and some other retired players from around Chicago got to be around Gale a couple of years in a row at his foundation event. And he still just had that class, that charisma, some of those things that were well known about him, but it was just cool to be in his presence when he was trying to do some things that were beneficial for others as well. So like you said, I mean, there's marks that were left on the field and certainly off the field from the way that people viewed him and the way he treated everyone else also.
Yeah, I remember coming down in 2014 to cover Packers Bears and meeting him for the first time. And it was one of those moments when I was starstruck. And the whole time he wanted to talk and get to know me. And I'm sitting here with a legend. I'm like, why do you want to know about me and where I'm from and my family and things like that? But that is an interview I will remember forever. He was so gracious and kind, and will be missed for sure. Well, as we switch over to style points, this is a great way to start the segment because this ad we found from 1971 that Gale Sayers advertised for the men's store at Sears, looking sharp in what they called the Traveler knit suit. He looks fabulous. What do you guys think?
He looks great, classy, smooth. I like the Granum hair, and that's probably like seeing him with his hair like that too. He just he looks sharp, classic. I love it.
No doubt. I mean, he probably give Billy D. Williams a run for his money there. You understand why? In Brian's song, they cast him in that manner. Very similar hairstyle, similar style, very classic. I'm digging it. That's a good look for him.
Very cool. Next up, we got Golden Tate wore these shoes honoring Kobe Bryant and actor Chadwick Boseman. And the Giants lost last Sunday at Soldier Field. Very nice tribute for those all around.
Yeah, those are cool. Awesome. And I mean, what a year. I mean, we've lost so many people this year, but it seems with everything that's gone on to remember that Kobe, we lost him at the beginning of this year, and then Chadwick Boseman, who is, Wakanda forever. Great artistry there on there, and what a great tribute. Two guys, again, that also will be missed. Yeah.
And it's awesome that the league and a number of athletes are taking advantage of the opportunity to honor other figures, whether sports figures or pop culture figures, on shoes like this, and just in other ways that now some of these restrictions are starting to be loosened for uniforms.
Yeah, I'd love to see it for sure. Well, next up is the Falcons' Tack McKinley, who went full cowboy with the hat, shirt, jeans, boots, and you can't forget the belt buckle. Did he pull off the cowboy? I mean, is that a Louis Vuitton bag he's carrying? That probably helps.
Louis.
That just ties cowboy together, the big Louis bag.
I'm going to trust you guys for whether or not something's clashing or not. The brand of Louis Vuitton doesn't necessarily seem to scream cowboy to me, but I know that's kind of, Tack is truly about that cowboy life. I do know that much.
Yeah, looking sharp. I'm giving him some points there. Okay.
Well, Bucks Mike Evans post-game shirt that says, "I love my wife." Always good message. But if you look closer, it actually says, "I love it when my wife lets me play video games." Subliminal messaging from Mike Evans.
Clearly we know what he likes to do in his off time, but I mean, what man doesn't? But I like it because it's clever and it makes you look and makes you think. So lots of points there.
That's really, really clever right there. I wonder what mine would be. I guess it would be like, "I love it when my wife lets me eat vanilla ice cream," or lets me eat dessert, something like that. I guess maybe we throw something. Maybe I'll get a shirt made. It's something along those lines. I like it.
Good stuff. And we can't have style points without Cam Newton because,
of
course. But this was a subdued look. This is great. More. It's not the man in the yellow hat this week, but I like the gray.
But always with the hat on. That is the key. Yes. He loves his hats. I just want one of his hats from his hat collection because he looks good. But he always keeps us talking, which I like it. He keeps it interesting.
And as a fellow man with a ginormous head, I want to know who makes Cam's hats, by the way, because whoever his tailor or his stylist is making these hats, they're making big ones because Cam's got a big head too. I might have to look into that.
Yeah, we gotta get you one of the hats for sure, Anthony. Well, time for another break. But when we come back, we'll be joined by comedian and native Chicagoan Corey Bell. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Bears Unleashed, brought to you by IGS Energy. We are more than excited to be joined by comedian Corey Bell, who you can see at Zany's Chicago tonight, as well as Saturday and Sunday. So, Corey, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll start it off. You said you're from the Chicago area. You grew up in Chicago. What is your Bears fandom like?
Listen, first of all, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so excited to hear these girl voices talking about the Bears. And I am a Bears fan. Even my sons played for the Matson Bears. Okay, so we are Bears all the way around. And I love the Bears from refrigerator. I'm going to tell you how old I am. I am Refrigerator Perry's Super Bowl Shuffle.
Oh, okay.
Like
there we go.
Yeah. I'm that kind of Bears fan. I remember going to the Mike Dick the restaurant. Like I'm that old, okay? Like seriously.
I love it. You got to tell us, what is it like in your home watching games? I know you're a wife, you're a mother of 4, so you are busy, especially dealing with all this, e-learning, you name it. So how do you balance all that to be able to watch games? You got to get in work for your comedy clubs, your routines. How do you balance it all?
You do it all from the car, okay? Because you won't get any peace in this house. So my daughters have moved out, so I'm in the house with all guys, my husband, the boys, even the dog. And if they're not watching sports, they're playing sports, okay? So, and they're not all rooting for the same team. So there's always something broken by the time the Bears come on, because they are Bears. So I do a lot of my stuff, a lot of my juggling, either in the bathroom or in the car, because other than that, it's can you make me a sandwich? I need something else to drink. We need a new TV because the Bears lost and we broke this one. So like, it's a romper. It's a college dorm in my house when the sports come on. Even my downstairs behind my bar, the whole wall has a Bears logo on it. Like seriously, it's crazy.
So then with everything else you got going on, Corey, how'd you end up going down the road of comedy? What made you first get into that industry, and how unique has this year been in dealing with everything in the coronavirus?
Listen, I live in a home of comedy. Most of the things that happen around here end up right on stage. And it's funny to everybody else, but I think people love it because it's real life. People can identify. And how I ended up on stage was I got fired from a job, okay? I got fired for being late every day, and they didn't understand how I was late every day and I work from home, okay? So listen, it just happens. If you have to be at work at 9 o'clock, I don't get out the bed till 8:58. And sometimes it's traffic on the stairs. That's how I was late every day, okay? But in the pandemic, to go from, I was on tour with the amazing and incomparable Monique. So we were touring and everything was great. And you went from having all of these tour dates to being stuck at home with children that you didn't know that you didn't like them until you were stuck at home and couldn't go anywhere. So it's been a lot of writing, a lot of breathing, and a lot of drinking. It's been a lot of drinking around here. That's what I'm going to tell you. So I'm excited to be able to get 5 shows in this weekend because my children cannot come with me, okay?
Yes.
I want you to hear that. That's how I get away from them.
You get your me time, your alone time. It's needed, yes.
Corey, I got to ask you about the hat and jersey combo. What does that jersey say?
Okay, so my jersey is humble jersey, okay? Because this is what you have to be when you live in Chicago and you are talking about sports teams, because we can be up here for a minute and before you know it, we can't even beat the high school varsity team. I don't care what sport it is. So sometimes you can't get too excited. Like, we excited about the Bears right now, and I'm gonna tell y'all why they winning, because ain't no fans. And we know that a lot of games ain't made until you have the fans in the stands, but I am proving right now that the fans have been a distraction for the Bears, because look what we're doing out of this point. Look at that.
That explains it. That explains it all.
That's
Corey's
good stuff.
great.
Good stuff, Corey. Thank you so much for joining us. Go see Corey tonight at Zany's Chicago. All weekend she will be there. Thank you so much for joining us. And coming up after our final timeout, we'll get you ready for the Bears and Falcons. Stay with us. And you can catch Bears coverage all day long on Sunday right here on Fox 32 Chicago. It all starts with props and locks and Fox kickoff Sunday at 10 a.m. Bears Game Day Live follows at 10:30, and then it's Bears Falcons at noon. Immediately after the game, switch on over to My 50 for Bears Post-Game Live. It's the only place in town where you can watch Matt Nagy and Mitchell Trubisky's post-game pressers live. And welcome back to Bears Unleashed, brought to you by IGS Energy. It's time now for the Miller Lite Blitz. Hit me with one word that will define the Bears and Falcons game. Anthony, what's your word?
My word is in a little bit of lighter ink, but yes, we can read it. Fortitude. That's what the Bears need to have this week. Fortitude, because the inconsistency that we've seen from them in game 1 with 3 kind of mediocre quarters and then a blazing fourth quarter, and then last week, kind of a mediocre finish to the game after being so great in half number 1. Put it all together. Mental fortitude, not just the physical end of it. Mental fortitude is what's going to be necessary.
I like it. I'm going with defense.
Yeah.
Defense, you got to step it
yes.
up this game. Obviously, like we said, the Falcons, they have a powerful offense. Let's control the clock. Let's control the turnover game. Let's keep them off the field. Defense, counting on you this week to go 3-0.
And I'm going with fast because Matt Nagy talked all week long about how fast the Falcons are, how fast the Bears need to start. And I think that'll be an important way because they cannot have a slow start on the road. Yes, I know there's no fans, but you cannot have a slow start when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons.
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, I guess we'll have to see. But thank you guys for joining me. Another fun week.
Been good.
And hopefully we'll be talking about a Bears victory
Exactly.
when we come back next Friday. So thanks for joining us on Bears Unleashed. We'll see you next week at 9:30.